still reasonably solid foundation to the Ontario economy and GTA in particular. We are in a slower growth mode, and that's, in our view, going to be the norm for this year, next year, and quite likely the years after. The odds of recessions, obviously, the longer you get into the current economic cycle, the odds of recessions are rising. That's just part and parcel of where we are in the cycle. But nonetheless, if the policy levers are put at the right spot, we can avoid a recession for the next little while. But that means that growth is going to get slower, somewhere between 1.5% and 2%, which is fine, which is about the run rate that we should expect for this economy. Issues, but that being said, issues, especially in the labor market, about for businesses, when you're trying to recruit, when you're trying to hire, to find labor that suits you, the challenges you're having now are not going to get any better. Now, things are not going to get easier going forward. It's a cyclical story, economic cycle story, but it's also a structural story from a demographics point of view. From I forget exactly who brought up the baby boomers and stuff earlier this morning with me, but it's a reality that some of the baby boomers, those at the early in the baby boomer wave, are retiring more and more and more, which puts more and more pressure on businesses to hire, to replace them, in the context where the labor force itself is not growing as fast as it used to. So my point here is that slower growth in the economy, yes. More sustainable, yes. Risk of recession, probably rising, but not imminent in our view. But but this is not going to ease the challenges you're having with respect to hiring staff. Now, the labor market, we're expecting that the unemployment rate might tick up a little bit, but it's still going to be fairly robust, fairly solid. The other aspect to keep in mind, when you have a fairly tight labor market, so far we haven't seen that much pressure on wages. But I'm not willing to throw away my economics textbooks quite yet. I think that those are the context, the elements that eventually leads to higher, faster wage growth. And I think it would be sound for you in business to expect that you might see some upward pressure on your wage bills going forward. So because there are more opportunities out there, more options for that labor, you might have to compete with other businesses for that labor, so you might have to pay labor a little bit more. Like I said, so far we surprisingly haven't seen that much upward pressure on wage growth. But to me, the elements are there for that to show up eventually.